Welcome to Yep Yeah Yes with Marissa and Tamika. I am your co-host, Tamika, joined by my co-host, Marissa, on this beautiful yet cold Saturday afternoon. Although when you're listening to this, it's probably in the evening, Mother's Day, or 2 weeks later. So I don't know what the weather holds for you. But for us, it's a little chilly, yet sunny. How are you,
Good
Marissa?
evening. I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm good, good. So today's topic is entitled She Did That. We're basically gonna talk about our moms, our aunts, women who did that, who made a move, did something that we want to kind of highlight and kind of praise in time for Mother's Day, which is tomorrow. But as I mentioned, some of you may be listening to this a week later, so 2 weeks later, a year later. So it may not be Mother's Day for you, but for us, Mother's Day is tomorrow. And with that being said, she did that.
She did what?
So Marissa, how's life?
It's good. It's
You
good.
sure?
Yeah, I'm positive.
Vo-
Yeah. I don't know
Voice
why
cracking?
it came out real suspect.
A little shaky there.
I know. I'm okay.
Jeez.
it's it's good. It's good. It's cold. I'm stuck in the house. In the house, I'm stuck. Um, the highlight of my days are there's a mallard duck, male and female, that come to visit every day, and that is the highlight of the day.
Do you feed them or you just
Well, so I don't know if I'm feeding them, but I do throw some bread,
then that's feeding them. What are you
some birdseed, and like my old vegetables and
That's
fruit.
why they coming back. They like she got that good shit. You trying to fuck with acorns. She got that whole wheat.
I got the focaccia bread last week, so it was
Oh,
out.
there you go. Oh, this sweet. We be back. Um, so anyway, she did that. Um, like it's like one of those things where, we both have mothers um who we've seen come through some shit. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And so
Yep.
trying to pinpoint the one thing here or there, it gets a little bit difficult. But
Yeah.
I guess I can tell a story about, you know, not a story, but kind of exemplify the type of person that my mother is. And then maybe go into some stories, about her, my aunts, um, friends, cousins, whatever. But the one thing that exemplifies who my mother is, so as I've mentioned before, previous episodes, I was born with a bone disease. And so, my mother, she was 18 when I was born, turned 19 a few days later. Didn't like me to mention that, but yes, she was an 18-year-old. She turned 19 3 days later. But anyway, she got this job, um, and the job, like I had all these medical conditions. I was in the hospital for, had surgeries upon birth. Like it was crazy. It's like if it was today, my medical bills would probably be close to, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like almost 1 million. Like it was
Oh.
like on another level. Um,
Oh. Absolutely. Yeah.
bilateral knee surgery, like it's just, and then if you add up all the surgeries over the years that I've had, the 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 amount that the cost that came with that is just
And
massive.
the emotional cost too. Like you said, she was a young mom. So
Right.
imagine
So
you're,
it's like, and then
yeah.
and I'm like released from the hospital or whatever, and she can't stay in the hospital with me, so she's like getting a ride there every day. But the one thing that exemplifies who she is, not just the fact that she, you know I got to check on my baby, I'll walk where I got to walk to go see her, but she got a job, and that job ended up being a job where I don't remember if that job got bought out by Citibank, or she left that job and went to Citibank. But ultimately, by the time she retired from Citibank, she never had a college degree. She took some college courses here and there, but never ended up finishing it. But she ended up retiring as a VP. So I mean, it's like one of those things where it's like her story is not just summed up with that. All the shit she went through, from domestic violence to motherfuckers like robbing her, reminds me of that Little Kim. Remember, was it Little Kim and Biggie's like, motherfuckers out here robbing me and shit.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Why is it that like we're women of a certain bracket, so like we can boil down a lot of things to certain albums, and
yeah,
for me, Little Kim boils down to a lot of these
out here
albums.
robbing me and shit. Anyway, so yeah, she dealt with some real jerks, from, I love my dad and everything, but he was a jerk to her. He didn't step up to the plate. He wasn't a man for her. But that didn't, did she go in a whole ball up and cry? Maybe she did. But did she stay there? No. She
No.
pulled herself up, took care of me, took care of herself, built her way up to now. She's retired, but she's still works because she wants to work. She does what she wants to do. She
But
works.
can we add to the whole, just because you brought your dad into it, can we, but that doesn't always happen.
Just 1 second. Sorry, I paused it by mistake. So go back to that. The
Start
part
with,
right after you said you wanted to interject.
Oh.
Interject.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, just to interject, let's be clear here. In a perfect world, this would happen, but it's not a perfect world. Your mother ensured that you had a relationship with your paternal grandmother and your paternal family, even though the relationship between her and your father, even you and your father, was probably not as traditional as you guys wanted it to be. So that's a real woman there. And like I said, in a perfect world that would happen. In a perfect world, grandma would be, your grandma, because there's Nana and grandma, your paternal grandmother would be who she is. Like, just, she was a very loving woman, just very open, very cordial, just very like a place where you knew you could go not only to get comfort, but to get like a meal. Just very open. So yes, we would hope that every grandmother was like that, but at the same time, your mom ensured that certain things were in place for you to have not only a wonderful relationship with her and your dad's side of the family, but to solidify that relationship. And that, I mean, that's a hell of a woman right there.
It takes a lot. I mean, like I said, it's to have a baby born with special needs, and do what you got to do. Work, utilize your family as your village, utilize your friends as your village, and ultimately come on the other side where she's, living her life. She's chilling. She got a beautiful home. Don't got to answer to nobody. Her bills is paid. She got a great job, part-time job that she decided that she wants to work. It's like,
you know what I'm saying?
So big up to my mom. I mean, like that's a small, sampling size. But when we talk about mothers, we talk about fathers. It's anybody can be a mother or a father. Well, some of us can be mother and father, but no, anybody can be a mother and father. It just comes in different forms. But it takes a real woman to be a mom. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I salute my mother. Happy Mother's
Yeah.
Day, Mom. Love you.
Happy Mother's Day. She's just, I have to say though, like, it's such an example of not only but strength, but like you said, resilience. There's such a layered story to her life, and her life as a mother, and how she navigated all that. And there's a lot to be said to having, for her to be in the point that she is right now, not only to have happiness, to have security, and to do the things that she wants to do because she feels like it. That's the ultimate goal I think we all have as individuals, to get to a certain point where you're just like, I'm here because I want to, sweetheart. I'm not here because I have to.
Right.
And you command different relationships because of that. And that's a beautiful thing, and that's something that I definitely strive for as a woman.
Right. So what about like your mom? Anything you want to share?
You know what, my mom, so I think about that, and it's like, I'm always shitting on my mom. I know that. I like her though. And I respect the gangster that is, Marina. But it's like, I feel like I'm always shitting on her. But, she was she had me at 24 turning 25, had my brother 23 turning 24, right? We're like within a few months, not as close as your mom because it's only like a few days. So she was just like, whenever I think of her, I always have to remember she has a journey, she has a struggle and all that stuff. And I always look at my relationship with her from a self-centered point of view, because I'm always like, this bitch always had her shit together. She had great jobs. Again, my mom didn't finish. She started school to be a nurse. And that she walked
Oh,
into
really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I know, right? She said she walked into like a biology class, I think it was, and she said there was cats pinned up. She walked in, she walked out, went to registrar, and dropped out of school. She was
I could see that.
oh yeah, right. She always had a desire to be a stewardess, but at the time there was a height restriction, and she was 5 feet even, so she didn't make it. I think it was like 5'2" or something like that, and she just didn't make it. So she was like, the next best thing. I walked on Fifth Avenue, and I walked into British Airways, and I said, "Are you hiring?" And she was with BA for almost like 18 years, something like that. And from there, she opened up her own travel agency, which was fantastic, afforded a lot of beautiful things for me and my brother. Even British Airways did. We went on a lot of travel. We traveled a lot, especially younger.
I just want to interrupt though, because there's something very key that might be something that can motivate other people. It's like when those three things right there told me three things. You don't stop just because one door closes. And even when she went to British Airways, that wasn't the end. Like there's people that, not to say that it's not okay to work somewhere and then retire from that place. But when she was like, okay, now I'm gonna start my own shit. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like that takes a special type of person, and not just like successful.
And that's the thing too. It's like, and that's why I think I'm constantly like shitting on my mom, because I'm always just like, whatever, you seem to always work out. But I have to remember too, like she worked for it to work out. So the reason she left British Airways, because at the time we were living in Puerto Rico, they were closing the San Juan office, and they offered her to go anywhere she wanted. She was married at the time, and my stepdad lived in the BVI in Tortola. And she was like, he's not American and he didn't want to come to America. So she was like, nah, I'll retire. And then from there, she like sat around for a month and was just like, I've always wanted my own travel agency. Okay, let's do it. And she just did it. And when I tell you this bitch worked hard, I know this bitch worked hard because I saw it. I was there with her. I saw
Right.
it. So she just worked hard and she just did the damn thing. And that, like you said, it's one of those things like when people, so we all have different definitions of success. But when we see someone that we define as successful, they're constantly saying you create your own opportunities. Not everyone's afforded that. Not everyone can just be like, I'm going to open up my own travel agency. It was also a different time and a different place in the world. I get that. She also had economic advantages that other people didn't. So let's paint a clear picture as well. So and this is not a disparity to her. She worked for these economic advantages and things that and relationships with airlines and things like that. So she did work. But whenever I look at her and I look at my dad, even my brother, I will say, because I define my brother's career life to be very successful. And I'm just talking in the concept of career, because I was talking about my mom and British Airways and then her travel agency. So I define them as successful because they had a desire to do something and just did it.
Right.
Like my brother, since I could recall, he was always like, I'm growing up and I'm going to be G.I. Joe. And he just retired as a lieutenant colonel in the Army and then got a job as a civilian doing what he did in the Army. I mean, seriously? You know what I mean? Here I am at 40 and I'm still trying to write my successful career, scope, because I never really knew what I wanted to do
Well,
anyway.
you're a year younger than him, so you got a year to catch up.
13 months.
Okay, you got 13 months to catch up.
I know, but see, that's what I'm saying. So it's like, it's so funny because it's like, whenever, and I remember a conversation you and her had. I don't know if you recall this, that you were talking about something, and she was just like, if that doesn't make you happy, then don't do it. You only do what makes you happy.
I don't even remember.
I remember we were in her apartment.
How many mimosas did I have by then?
None.
I don't know why I don't remember.
You guys were just you were standing, which was odd because you were standing, and you were saying something like, yeah, I've always wanted to do that, but you know, and she was like, then just do it. You do what makes you happy. You'll have to do things that define your life. You can't live your life for anyone else. And that in and of itself, in an emotional capacity, is extremely successful, because I feel we, especially as women, consistently strive to make other people happy when it comes to our life. So whenever we talk to someone, it's like, oh, I see you in this light. You in some facet begin to weave in this like desire to fulfill whatever they defined for you. Or like, let's say, like, I remember at one point in my life I told my dad I wanted to go into the army. I was younger, but it just sounded like there's so many opportunities, it affords you so much opportunity in and after. And it was just like something, and he was like, no, that's not for girls. And mind you, my dad was a very big feminist. He had 4 sisters. He was a huge proponent of like, you doing you. Like, there's no defined roles, gender specific roles. There's none of that. But for some reason, when he did that, I felt so crushed. But I remember thinking to myself, okay, well, that's not an option. What does he want me to do? What life did he see for me? And try to fulfill that. I think you, as I do love music, as I do love music, I tried to fulfill that part of him because he had a nightclub. So I tried to fulfill that part, but that didn't work out because that just wasn't for me.
Well, what do you think? Okay, you went into a whole thing about your father. Let's go back to your mother.
Yeah.
So when you think about your mom, how would you sum up, like, pick 3 words that would sum up who your mother was to you or the world, or just the 3 words that come to mind?
Extremely smart.
That's 2 words.
Smart.
Okay.
Driven.
Okay.
This might be controversial to some people that know her. Kind.
No, if you don't know her, if you don't believe that, if that's controversial to you.
Well, here's the thing though, because I think people define kind as nice. There's a difference between being nice and being kind. You know, nice is telling you that you constantly look pretty. Kind is telling you when you don't. Kind is letting you know, hey, you're not acting in the spirit of who I
the word kind. So why do you think that would be controversial?
Because she was very sharp-tongued, and I believe some people received how she was speaking to be harsh. And while her intention wasn't to be harsh, perhaps the delivery was. The intention wasn't to be harsh. The intention was to be kind and let you know that your bullshit is bullshit.
So the definition that I see, maybe I should get from a different definition, but obviously the word kind can mean many different things. It's one of those words, like kind of,
mm-hmm.
and kind person. You know what I mean?
Right.
But in terms of this person, it's one who can do anything for the other person, for the other who is needy, without giving a second thought and without thinking about himself. A kind person is empathetic. He not only understands the needs of a person, but also helps them. A kind person is ready to help others every time.
See, she was kind to some.
Okay.
She was.
But I don't know if that's I mean, it depends. The definition can be different depending on who you
The
speak to.
connotation.
Yeah, like so. Um, what you call Webster says, like to give pleasure, affectionate, loving. That's Webster.
Webster ain't shit right now.
No,
No,
I believe
yeah,
I believe that about her though.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's why I'm like when you like I think that like the true nature of who she
Mm-hmm.
was a kind person, a giving person, an
Yeah.
empathetic person, one who
Yes. Very.
thought
Yeah.
about others, their
Yeah.
needs and their desires. Um, Sometimes I think that um, her way of giving of herself was misguided by monetary. Because you know, there's some people that are like, I give you money, that means I care. But and I think sometimes she mistook um, giving as a
Yeah.
monetary as opposed to of herself.
Yes.
And in actuality, I feel like that's what you wanted more than anything from her.
I wanted it all. Um,
But
but
if you had to choose
yeah,
between money and her,
yeah.
yeah,
Oh
don't,
no,
yeah,
I made choices. At the end of the day, I made my choices. I got nothing and gave of myself because she was deserving of it, and I got moments with her that I never would have gotten before. Um, but so that's why I say she was definitely very, very kind. Um, I'm trying to remember like a moment where I'm trying to think. You know what? I have to say, one of the things that when she started to do this, I was like, really, why? I didn't realize because I was just young in thought and mentality. She started to volunteer to translate for at the courthouse for battered and abused women.
hmm
So when
I
she was,
remember she was talking about that, or it came up or something. I don't remember exactly, but
yeah, and she did that on her own accord, on her own time, just helping people out. And that's, I think, one of those things that um, she never really spoke about that. Well, not only that, for privacy of other people, she never really spoke on it. But that was one of those things that was like um, perhaps not on the forefront of of your mind or my mind even when you think I think of her.
right.
But she was just like, that was something that she did. And you know what, I have to say, she always donated her clothes to the Red Cross that was down there. But what they did was they actually gave clothes away, and it was again to the women's shelter. So she was just very kind in that sense, where she allocated her time, which was one of those, the time is a precious commodity. And to allocate her time to that, I think was just such a really kind thing that she did. And that was one of the things that upheld who she was as a person.
I think the thing that I recognized in her is that she was one of those rare people that would do something because you just spoke to it. Like she didn't tell
Mm-hmm.
people about the translating. She's one of those rare people who didn't want the the accolades. There's not too many people that I mean, even I have conversations with you and you know, on the side you're like, I want accolades, and I'm the same way. It's like this motherfucker didn't even say thank you.
I know. I just want to be appreciated.
Right. Like recognize what I just did for you, bitch. You know, did you get my card? You know?
Oh my
She was
god.
never like that. She was just like
No,
she didn't even want anybody to like know. Like
no.
you know,
Did.
because I feel like it would fuck up her image.
Isn't that so funny how like the image that she portrayed was obviously her. She was definitely a good time. She was definitely one who enjoyed her champagne and wine. She was definitely out to have a good time. But at the same time, they didn't realize that this bitch was giving her time to things without even looking for acknowledgement. And that was just such a true spirit of her giving of herself. And like you said, like I just want to be appreciated. Like,
Yeah.
it's so funny. My school had a Zoom assembly, right? And we have this thing called like the energy bus, and it's kind of like, you know, you're the driver of your own bus, and it's like these key principles that we constantly teach. I'm sorry, I saw you tune out. So we were doing it, and I went on, but I didn't realize that it wasn't under my name, it was under one of my son's names. So the principal's like saying hi to everybody, and I'm typing, I'm here too. And I'm like, oh my God, this assembly number one ain't about me. I do not need to be acknowledged, but it was, of course.
This is,
I'm serious.
I think that's human nature, but I mean, I'm sure your mother had moments like that too, but that wasn't something that she exhibited that I
Yeah,
ever saw. You know,
yeah,
she never needed people she never needed to be validated by
yeah,
person's congratulations or thank you.
yeah. And that's a very hard thing to transcend too.
I don't know. I can't think of any people. I don't know of anybody that's like that I can think of off the top of my head that doesn't, seek a thank you or recognition or, what don't forget, you know what I mean? And that includes myself. I'm like,
But you do that. You volunteer at a lot, and then like we'll be
yeah,
having.
but I'm talking about more so like the giving of, giving of time. It's like, I'll donate to some charity or somebody's GoFundMe or stuff like that. But I think like in my interpersonal relationships, like I seek hey, did you get the card I sent you? You know, got it,
Uh,
did you get the what, like it's
yeah,
just, I think a lot of people are like that though. It's
yeah,
just, it's in our nature. And so for her to be the antithesis of that is like, that's pretty big. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
I wonder at what point and where you have to be in your own personal spirit to get to that level to say, I'm going to give and I'm going to do, and the need for everything else goes away. Like,
Or was it something, or was it the catalyst of consistent rejection? We don't know.
we don't know. Yeah, we don't know. I can't have that conversation, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That's that's an interesting thought because I'm a very I know I'm an affectionate person. I realize that, but with this pandemic that we're going through, I'm not obviously outside of my nucleus. I'm not like that. So if I see someone, it's a hey, and I realized that I was being affectionate for selfish reasons because I needed it,
Right.
not to say the other person did. And it's so funny because like I know, like, listen, a hug feels great, but I was doing that for me, not for someone else. And it made me think like, am I gonna change once all this is over and done with? Am I gonna change and continue to be this way because I want to show that another person matters, or is it for me? So
It's
it made
definitely
me,
for you. Because you are like somebody else in my family who continues to hug, even though I'm like, all right, all right. Like it's too much for me because I'm not a hugger. And so when the hug goes too long, I know it's not about me.
yeah. But yeah, that's what I mean. So now because I know it and I brought it to my own attention. So now going forward, what is the intention?
Right.
Where's the spirit of this? If it's for me, then that's selfish. So but if it's for another person, and then that's the whole like idea. So that's one of the things, like you said, i'm I'm trying to remember my mom, how she did things for other people. And do you know how many free tickets she gave to people that were fleeing domestic violence? You have no idea. You have absolutely no idea how much she has done. And she never, and the only reason I know about it because I just happen to like help her when I'm there. I kind of like, you're there. I was there, going there like every month for a weekend, every 2 months, all the time. And I just happen to like help her work on the weekend sometimes, where like deliver tickets, pick up money, get lunch, things like that. And I'm like, why you got me going to these neighborhoods? Like, why am I doing this? Why am I meeting somebody in the supermarket by the cheese? Like, what's happening here? And it was like, no, that lady's fleeing and she's going to her home country and she's leaving. And oh,
And now,
but
like, even probably at that time, you probably weren't fully grasping it. But now, 20 years later, or however many years later, it probably
yeah,
makes a lot more sense, and it makes you appreciate her more. I'm sure.
absolutely. Especially as a mother, and then on top of that, as a woman, like I still think of myself as a 12-year-old kid, but whatever. As a woman, you know, you think like, damn, you know what, like, you're here for the sisterhood, like, you're really here for the cause, and I appreciate it. I appreciate that you're here for it. But not wanting to boast about it, that's where that's the ultimate goal.
Right.
Not feeling the
I
need.
think about my mom too, is like, um, you know, with the domestic violence and stuff, and even like opening her home to allow people to stay there so they get their shit together. You know what I mean? Or just counseling and stuff like that. And to be able to do that, no, you know, there's a lot of people that go through stuff in life, whether it's domestic violence, whatever the case may be, but they
Right.
don't often mentor and tell other people how they made it to the other side, or how they rose to the top, or you know, there's not too many. I don't know if there's too many people that are like true mentors, you know,
Yeah.
that are truly there for people. And I don't know, it's something to think about when, as we recognize our mothers.
I
Moms.
think about so our mothers are, I think, around the same age, right?
Yeah, I think your mom is like a year or two older, something like that.
I think maybe 3. I'm not sure. So anyway, I think about that, and I think about, so there's so many people trying to fight aging, right? And trying to not see the beauty that comes with time. But when I think of that next level spiritual opening and awareness and fulfillment, I think about that when it comes to age. And when I look at our moms that are able to give, like, your mom can counsel someone without fulfilling a need. Like, because, you know, like, sometimes, like, oh, my mom died. Oh, my mom died too. I remember when that. Now I'm talking to you because I need therapy. Your mom is there to listen and to
In that moment, she is Mrs. Me Too, and I've told her this.
stop. But your mom has been able to counsel in a way that is not there to speak just about her, not
Right.
to just vomit her information. She's there to listen to what is happening to you and to provide counsel for your need. And that again, that's that next level transcendence of that spiritual fulfillment and calmness and just
And that
something that,
might be her purpose. I don't know.
yeah.
Like, what the fuck is my purpose? I need to start writing. I have all these book ideas during quarantine, and I'm like,
I have told you time and time again that you are a writer, that as a reader, I have visceral reactions to it. And you write in such a way that not only it's visceral, it's just visceral. And I like I've said before, you're there to tell stories, to provide people with a level of, I'm not alone. I feel connected and better, and to move to that next phase of that emotional calmness.
it's weird because, like, every week we get off the show. I'm like, I'm gonna write. I'm gonna do continue my food blog. I'm gonna do this writing, and then like this morning, I saw that Andre Harrell passed away, founder of Uptown Records, and I recall the time that I met him. I go to, even though it's
And James Brown, right?
what?
And James Brown, right?
Not James. James Brown been dead.
Not
Little
James.
Richard.
Little Richard. Oh my God. I can't look at you without thinking about James Brown.
See, why you gotta? You ain't even right. We don't need to talk about that. Anyway, so I thought about the time that I had met him, and I went into the city. This is the thing about me, okay? I'm the type of person who strives to get to a point, and then when I get there, I'm like, eh. You know what I mean? Like, I put 100% effort into getting to that point. Then I get there, I'm just like, I give about 80, 90.
It's not for you.
But it is for me. It's like things that I dream about. And I get that. Like, so with Andre Harrell, I wanted to be in the music industry so bad. I was working at Sam Goody. And this is before I started working at Ryko. So it's like a year, like during that time, like I had gotten a job at Ryko within that same frame period. Anyway, I'm in the city. I got my power suit on. I'm walking around the city. I had a job interview, and I was like, I'm just going to walk over to I was in Times Square. I'm like, I'm just going to walk over to like the the Virgin Maker store, walk around there, and I go down the street, and I see that it is the BMG building. I was like, wow. And I'm standing there, and I see Andre Harrell. I'm like, oh shit, this is my moment. So I take out my resume and I hand it to him, and he gives me like the brush off type of, like whatever, kid. I give him the resume. He folds it up and puts it in his pocket, in his breast pocket, the inside breast pocket. And like for a second, I like quivered a little bit because I was like, he just fucking disrespected me. And I was like, if you're not gonna read that, I can just take it back. I don't know where I got the courage to say that. And he looked at me. He took it out of his pocket, unfolded it. He's like, I'll take a look at it. I was like, okay. And I kept on walking. And I want you know, I was working in that building a year later, in that same fucking building. And the first day that I worked there, I'm in the elevator, and I'm in the elevator with Puff Daddy, who is.
I don't remember this.
It's just crazy. I mean, it's just a side note, but it's just like one of those things where you just never. There's people out there. Our mothers are people who are always determined and go after stuff, and I think they instilled that in us. But I think the same thing that we share is that we go for it and then we stop.
Yeah, that's totally me.
That's like
100% me.
Get your degree. It's like, all right, well, I'm good.
Okay.
I got a degree.
And another one.
Now, what can I do that's easy in life, you know?
I know. But you know what? It's so funny.
You paused a little bit. Hopefully you'll come back. Not sure if you guys can hear me. Hopefully Marissa will be back in a minute. Are you back, Marissa?
I'm back.
Okay. You were paused for a hot minute.
Oh, my bad. But I'm saying like the depth and breadth of our life, if we were to snapshot it, it would be the same thing, because it's like, look at you. This bitch was not supposed to walk, but she did. This bitch fucking played the oboe and the viola.
Not the oboe, the viola.
The viola, played field hockey, and you couldn't even walk when you were born. You know what I mean? Like
I was not supposed to walk.
Here you are. You got hearing aids, and then you're working in the music industry.
What the fuck, right?
You know what I'm saying? This is what I'm saying. It's like, but you didn't stop. I still remember your cover letter for when you sent to BMG, and I remember telling you this a while ago. That bitch was hungry. That bitch was getting a job.
Yeah, I still have it. I might post it.
That bitch was hungry. That shit was to get a job.
But
and I think
the problem is I got my plate and I didn't wait for dessert. You know? Or I got my appetizer. I didn't wait for the meal.
Oh shit.
That's the problem. People get up. They get full up of that appetizer, and then they take the meal home, or take a couple bites of the meal, take it home, put it in the fridge, and then it gets old and they throw it away. Life is about eating. If you're gonna order it, eat it. That's what life is about. If you're gonna order an appetizer, you're gonna order some calamari, eat the calamari. You're gonna order a ribeye steak, eat the steak. You ordering cheesecake, eat the cheesecake. Eat the whole. You pay for it. You put in the work. You pay for it. Eat it.
Eat it.
I didn't eat it.
So funny. So why do you think you didn't eat it?
Because my personality is not one that is very I spoke to my dad earlier today, and he was like, you was real nasty to me on Facebook, because he called me social. He's like, people like you are so social.
I saw that. You must not know me then.
Yeah. So he was like, boy, that was nasty.
You read it nasty.
I was like, well, I'm not social. He's like, you are social. You're always going places. I was like, going places, going to sit at a bar by myself is one thing. Going to a bar and meeting up with other people is another thing. And that's where I'm not ever able to eat my full meal, because I'm the type of person who will show up for dessert, show up for appetizer, show up for the meal, but won't eat it. And that's just the type of person I am. I'm like insecure when it comes to interacting with people. But if I'm one-on-one, like I went up to Andre Harrell, I went up to L.A. Reid, like one-on-one, I'm like, I have no problem. If it's a group setting and I see other people with them, I'm like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
but
I do.
I can't never take it to the next step. And so that's just the story of my life. And it's okay. Maybe, like I said, I posted this on Twitter. Like, I just write a book about, like, I was almost there. Something like that. You know what I mean?
But see, but here's the thing though, and I keep telling you, even though you were almost there, you were there. You were in places that other people have dreamed about still. And I keep telling you, you articulate in such a way that is visceral. So I really truly believe that's your journey. That's you provide a sense of peace and wholeness, that especially for topics that people don't often talk about.
I wish my mom, I get that from my mom, because she's also a writer. We're working on a book together, waiting for her to finish her part. And I can't wait for it to come out when we finally publish it, so people can see how our lives have paralleled each other, how we've intertwined each other, how I get my writing from her, my way to tell a story, all of that. It's from her. You know what I mean? I am me, she is me. I am her. You know what I mean? And so, you know, I'm nothing. I'm none of this without her. My ability to go up to, whoever, and have that strength, that comes from her. But
Yeah, that's
also, but also my lack of confidence comes from her.
I think that actually comes from your dad.
No, I don't believe it, because I've seen her in situations where I wanted her to be this strong woman and she wasn't. It's like learned behavior.
Yeah.
I think with my dad, it's like, from my dad, I feel like I don't want to talk about this is Mother's Day.
This ain't his week.
My mom, but I think, if I remember Jay-Z had this one line, I've referenced it before, in order to be Bobby Brown then, you had to be Bobby Brown now. Are you willing to go through the journey? And so when I think about my mother, it's like, in order for her to get to where she is today, she had to go through what she went through then. You know what I mean? She probably
Yeah.
in a recliner right now listening to this, or sitting outside drinking a glass of wine.
Yeah.
That she had to go through a lot to get to that point. You know what I mean? And so when I take the good and the bad. I can't just be like, my mom, everything that she is just so great. I have to remember the bad times in order to appreciate the good time. Everything can't be all hunky-dory roses and everything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for her, and I just, happy Mother's Day, Mom. Love you.
Happy Mother's Day.
So what about like the other women in your life, like your aunts, or any aunt that you want to highlight, or a friend, or anybody in your life, whether it's good or bad, that for Mother's Day that taught you how to be the kind of the mother that you are today?
I'm this is so obscure, so obscure. I was thinking about, so I'm not too much of a yeller. I speak sternly to my kids. I don't quite yell. And that was actually learned. I have a cousin named Agnes, and her children were born when I was about 15, 14. Her oldest, maybe, I think, I don't know, whatever my math. Yeah, about 15. And so I watched her as a mother, but, I was young, but not old. Anyway, she never yelled. And she used to take them to the side when she scolded them. And she would never, like, how sometimes, like, hey, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. Stop doing that. She never did that. I never saw her do that. She walked over, took them to the side, spoke to them. And that's one of the things that I carried with me as a parent, because my mom, not that she was a yeller or not a yeller, she would just, yell it out. My grandma beat the shit out of me. Like my dad was a bit of a yeller too. Actually, he wasn't a yeller. He was a scolder, but he was never around. So who gives a shit? But I just think about that, like that snapshot. I got that from her, and there's a sense of calmness in her kids now as adults that I hope that my kids have as they grow up because of that. And then I have actually my cousin Debbie. I think about her sometimes as a parent, and I see how her and her mother have a way of making you feel very special. Um, and I try to emulate that, especially around other people, not just my kids, but just like my interpersonal relationships. And I'm constantly like I don't know where actually the one thing that I do that I really don't know where I got. I don't know if that came from like losing my parents or what. I don't know, but it's one of those things that every once in a while I'll be like to a random person, especially like the people I work with. I'll be like, you know, I really like when you do X, Y, and Z. I think that's really nice. And then it's kind of like, oh, oh, like it's
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? Or like, and then I think about my grandmother, my paternal grandmother. She's so sweet, and she really showed you that she loved you in service. So she always wanted to cook your favorite meal, even though it wasn't my favorite meal, but you know what I mean? Like she thought it was,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? She thought it was, but I always had that ready with her. She always had it ready when I was coming over. So it was like, that service,
Why
that
are
was,
grandmothers like that? Like, I don't, my grandmother would make cheesecake for my birthday every year, and I'd be like, thanks. And that's before I like cheesecake. I'd be like, okay, well, she's like, you want to take it with you? I was like, no, you know more people.
I think about that. I think about that constantly. So it's my little one's birthday, right? And I was like, do you want a cake?
It's
Yeah.
tomorrow, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. You said it like, I was like, oh shit, it's today?
No, tomorrow. So I was like, do you want cake? Yeah. What kind of cake? Chocolate? You like chocolate, right? Isn't that your favorite? He's like, no. Oh.
That's your favorite.
No. And so I constantly think about that, like, oh shit, I just did my grandmother right now. She used to make me like spaghetti, but a Spanish spaghetti, a Spanish
What's that?
spaghetti. It's spaghetti with meat sauce, but it was like a Spanish version of it. I don't know why she thought that was my favorite dish. She always had it ready for.
Wait. What is the Spanish version of spaghetti?
It was like it's not
In
like
your household, we should say, so we don't offend the Cubans and the Mexicans and everybody and their mother's like, no, that's how we make it. She ain't a real Puerto Rican.
oh my god, I've been called that plenty of times. Jesus Christ. It was just spaghetti, but it wasn't like saucy. It was like thick and it had meat in it. I don't know. I don't know how she made it. I mean, it was good. It wasn't my favorite, but
Like, I'm not Italian, but I can't eat no spaghetti without meat in it.
you know,
Although I'm sure that's the Italian way is maybe with sauce and the spaghetti, no meat, right? And a meatball.
but
Every
it's just
Italian restaurant I go to is no meat sauce. It's sauce and a meatball.
but it's just like rice. You add a different bean to it, and it's a completely different dish.
Yeah.
So there's the bolognese sauce, the
Well,
vodka
spaghetti is
sauce.
supposed to be spaghetti. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
yeah.
No, like spaghetti is supposed to be a traditional way of making it. Even when
Oh,
you look at the commercials, it's like it's not like ground beef.
oh, it's just the tomato sauce, right?
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, you make the best meat sauce ever for spaghetti.
Girls, don't and you ain't telling a lie. Our shit is right. That the two things I'm gonna do when this quarantina is over, I am gonna come to your house. I'm gonna give you a big ass hug,
Oh,
as
girl.
long as there's a vaccine.
You gonna be, oh, you taking the vaccine?
Huh?
You gonna take a vaccine?
I'm not one of those people. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm taking a vaccine. After I make sure other people are walking around with a healthy. I ain't gonna get it on the first. It's like an iPhone. Didn't you mention this? Anyway, I get a flu shot, so whatever. Anyway, I'm gonna give you a hug, and then I'm gonna commence to cooking some spaghetti with Tamika's meat sauce.
Oh, girl. My eyes are tearing up right now. Yes, please do that. Oh my
I
gosh.
so I just want to, before we like change subject, I just want to get in this one thing. So I have my aunt Pam, and I also celebrate her on Mother's Day.
I love her.
She to me is like, she's my mother's sister, and she's that woman who's like, she's real fucked up to me when I was growing up. Okay. But she's not that much. She's like a 12, 13 years older than me, something like that. Something around 16, maybe something around that area,
Yeah.
like a teenager.
Yeah.
I was born. And like I just remember the one thing you would think, like a kid with special needs, like everybody coddled you. No,
No.
they called me tar baby, black banana. Okay. I got called every kind of name, deaf, big toe. Like it was like on a whole nother level. But it made me strong. But
But I'll tell you one thing though, let somebody else talk like that. She would
right.
fuck the
At
mofo
the
up
end
though.
of the day, by the time I became a teenager, she like I remember I would come to New York in the summers and she would pay me to babysit her kids, but she would be home. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
she just wanted me to have pocket money. She's
Yeah.
that woman. She's my friend now. We'll go to
Yeah.
the casino together. We'll go to food shopping together. Like she's my true blue friend. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so
Yeah.
when sometimes a mother figure isn't necessarily in the form that you expect them to be. She toughened me up in a way that nobody
Yeah.
else could. Like somebody else calling me tar baby wouldn't mean as much because I'm already getting that at home. Like come with something new. You know,
like,
and
like
we play Monopoly, and she'd make fun of me like losing and getting all Baltic and Mediterranean or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's just foul, just some foul
I
shit.
remember one time we were somewhere and she was like, look, there's your mitas. Like we were talking about something, I just looked at her and I was like,
You
I know
can't even be
she loves
mad
me.
because she's
But
just
the thing is, like, I know she loves me. For her to talk to me like that, like I know she loves
right.
me.
She ain't gonna say that to anybody. Right.
No. It just I don't know why, but that was like the nicest mean
She
lady
can
ever.
insult you, and you feel like, oh,
Thank
you
you.
know, it's like her way. I don't think I've ever told her that I love her, but I love her. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I don't even think I have the strength in me to tell her that because that's not the type of family I come from. It's like the only person in this side of the family that I say I love you to is my mother. And
I
so
wonder how she would receive that.
I don't,
She'd probably be
it
so
wouldn't even
uncomfortable.
come out of my mouth. That's how tough it is. It's
She
hard.
would
Like she'd probably start laughing and be like,
shut the fuck
yeah, exactly. And then you're just like, oh, you know,
up. Okay. Okay.
it's just crazy. I know when I used to write letters from college, I would say, love Tamika. And
Yeah.
whenever we give each other cards, she'd like, love Pam. But in terms of saying it vocally,
Yeah.
I don't recall her ever saying it to me. I'm sure she had when I was little. And I don't recall ever saying it to her, which is the same thing. I may have said it to her, but it's just, but I know, I feel it, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why it's like, um, you can think like words hold power or word is just a word, you know?
Hmm.
It's about how you feel. It depends on how you want to take it in that moment. But when it comes
Yeah.
to her and the rest of my family, it's like it's that feeling is means
Yeah.
more to me than the words. Because if she told me she loved me, I'd be like, oh God, what happened? You know what I mean?
Oh, she's going. Yeah.
Right. Like it's just the end of the world. The corona, you got the Rona, something like that. You'd be like,
Yeah.
what happened? So
Yeah.
I don't know. But speaking of Rona, I wanted to, kind of transition to
Two.
so I gotta get the kids to do another. They're probably too grown now to re-record it. Their voices have changed, you know.
Ew. The little one still has his baby accent though.
Yeah, but anyway, so I want to transition. So we're talking about Rona every week. We can, as long as we're going to be locked down, it's hard to avoid, talking about the
This is like
COVID-19 in some way or another.
yeah.
Um, so I want to talk about the opening of the country in different states. Spring open. Is it too soon?
Don't be mad. Yes.
Why would I be mad?
Oh, because I thought, like, I don't know, like, you waiting for things to open back up. I just
I
think
am
it's
not waiting for
oh,
shit to open back up. Are you kidding me? I
I
thought
think
you were
it's
gonna
too
be
soon.
like, when you said don't be mad, I was like, this chick out here watching Fox News.
No, no. Fox News.
I'm like, oh Lord.
No, I don't watch Fox News. But I will say, I don't. I I sound like a crazy person. They out here to get us. They trying to kill us. They're opening up so we could be the ones out there to get it and die, and so they could be all done with us.
So
I
I
ain't
saw
going.
somebody post, and it's like it's easy to. The thing about social media and posts is that people write one sentence, and you're like, yeah, you like wholeheartedly agree with it or disagree with it, and it's
Yeah,
without really giving it true thought and really taking the time to investigate the facts or non-facts behind it. But somebody did post, they were like, funny how the the people insisting on the country opening started doing it after they said that majority of the people catching it were black folk, or not catching it, dying from it, were black people. And it's like, not to, and the COVID sees no color, no race, no gender, no, you know what I mean? It's just anybody can catch it. Who's going to fall, who's more susceptible to dying from it, you know? And then
there's
on top of it,
socioeconomic factors to that, and then on top of that, how you see how they're trying to reform education.
wait, I didn't see that.
They're trying to reform education in New York to look more like charter schools. But there's such a economic disparity to that because um, if you're not providing adequate and equal opportunity to everyone, you fall into the hole that those with um, larger economic voices get the larger portion of the benefits. So you
Right.
need to spend a certain amount of money per child in order for them to have an equal and adequate education. And I'm not saying that money equals a good education. Obviously, there's more factors that go into that. But when it comes to like, professional development and teacher development, um, um, new techniques and methods and things like that, because education is consistently evolving, because how we process information, how we deliver that information needs to consistently change based on our needs. So if I have a classroom of 40 kids and 20 come on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 20 come on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then 40 come on Friday, how am I teaching? How am I
Who's
adequately?
getting what?
Who's
That
getting what? Exactly. But now here's the thing though. So if my teacher to student ratio doesn't matter, because now we can transition to virtual, because people are saying now that this virtual landscape is the same. But here's the thing though. Now they're changing how the deliverance of the internet is based on your economic power. So I can get a larger bandwidth. I can see you uninterrupted in our Google Classroom, but because I can't afford the larger bandwidth, I see you interrupted on our Google Classroom. But now here's the thing though, my reading comprehension is not the same as someone else based on a multitude of factors. How is that deliverance of information to me and someone else exactly the same? It is not. There's certain things that need to be delivered face to face based on our, our fine motor skills, our processing and things like that. So I think there's way too many things changing, and the ones that are benefiting are again the same pocket of people, and I have a problem with that.
it's the whole thing is gonna look, when this thing is quote unquote over and
Mm-hmm.
there's a cure or vaccine or whatever, this country is going to look very different. And unfortunately, I do believe that it's going to be even more divided. This thing has brought people further apart than they already were.
Yeah,
And you say what you want to say about who's running the country and stuff, but we need a leader that brings us together.
but it's not just that. It's not just one leader. Look at how that breaks down to state by state by state by local. We
But
need
everything starts at the top. You know, I think it
I
all
think
starts at the top.
I don't agree with that. And the reason I don't is because the way politics worked is that everyone is serving someone else. So if we go, if we're holding our local leaders accountable and they have to scream to the next one and scream to the next one and scream to the next one, it goes, I believe it goes in reverse order. It doesn't go from top down, it goes from bottom up. And I think if we consistently educate ourselves and understand how all this works and who's really in charge, then we can finally see a difference, because there's definitely power in numbers. The problem is our numbers are not showing up. Our numbers are
No,
not yet.
no, I definitely agree with that. But I also believe that when you have a leader that speaks to everyone, that has the ability to come into every single living room, kitchen, bedroom, whatever it is, every day. Like, everybody can't listen to Cuomo around the country.
Mhm.
Everybody can't listen to this governor or Newsom or whoever. You know what I mean? Kemp. Every I think it starts at the top, in terms of, obviously, the president, Congress, they can't do it all alone. That's why we have three branches of the government. But I think the message has to be a consistent message. It has to be a message of uplifting. When we had 9/11, George Bush went out there to World Trade Center amongst our police and firemen, and he said, I got your back. I'm here. And that book, that Democrat, Republican, Independent, Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, we were all like, all right, Bush, regardless of your politics, we're with you. You
Yeah.
can't do that. And that's what I'm talking about. That's I'm not talking about policies and stuff like that, but people look to someone who can, but when there's so many different voices and they're varying voices, they all have a different way of seeing things and doing things. It makes everybody's chaotic. It trickles down to the people, where we're all like, oh, I disagree, I don't believe in that. But if we all have one common goal, to get this country moving together, united, and we all agree on one thing, we don't
But
all
see,
agree on one thing.
but see, I think that's the problem. So, and I'm not defending one side or another. I'm not looking for my leadership to come from one person, right? I not that I credit or discredit. I just know where motivation will come from, right? The problem is that we're so divided that we can't even agree on. I think we all want our economy to do well. We want our children to grow up and have opportunity. We want our elders to be healthy and safe and have access to proper medical care. And we all
I
want
don't
this,
know if we all agree with that. That's what I'm saying. I don't
but I
believe.
think, but see, that's the
I
thing.
don't see that.
I think we do. But the problem is how we get it done. I think that's where we don't agree.
When you have a former governor say, well, the older people, they've lived, we just have to sacrifice them in order to get to that. Does, to me, tells me that you don't care about them and their needs. When you have people interact with our veterans and nobody has a mask on, and veterans are dying, like older veterans, elderly, 60, 70, 80-year-old veterans, and nobody is protecting them by wearing a mask. And people in your crew, your group, your lead, whatever, that
But
people
like,
tested.
but this is what I said before. There are people killing us. They're not looking out for us. So we, as the collective, where the power comes from, we need to allocate not only our time, our resources, and our voice to make sure, guaranteed, if we all got behind that as we got behind other things, and we demanded that not only do that action be accountable for, and you would never do that again, it's not going to happen. There would be a public apology, my thoughts and prayers. It
I
was
definitely agree with that. I mean, that's evident in that situation with uh, what's his name, Ahmad, the young
oh,
guy that was jogging and he got gunned down by the father and son.
right.
This
And
shit
then
happened in
well,
February.
what did Snoop say? It's not because they saw it, it's because we saw it.
Yeah, that's
That,
a running
exactly.
message, and it's true. And that, at the end of the day, the people have to galvanize. But what I'm speaking about is that it makes it a lot easier when you have a leader who speaks on behalf of the people. You know what I mean? And not the. I just it just annoys me.
I'm with you in that sentiment. I just no longer look at that leadership as
Oh
leadership.
no, yeah, you can't. And that's where I say we have to. It's going to be a new world where we're just going to look at, people are getting their news from social media. Newspapers are falling by the wayside. I mean, I wake up in the morning and I look at Twitter and I see what's trending and I'm like, damn, that happened. Like, that's where I'm getting my news. I don't even turn the news on in the morning anymore. What's going on in Huntington? How many people who got arrested? Or I'll go on my Ring and see people were lurking around the neighborhood. They were gunshot, whatever the case. And you're like, I'm getting that from my app, my Ring app. You know what I mean? So it's crazy. And then, like, when you think about spring open, you're look,
No,
I'm just like, it bothers me on so many levels because, like, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, like I might die by go out there, or I'm black and because I'm black, this that. But at the same time, you see shit that's happening and you're like, it's so that there's 40 arrests in Brooklyn, 35 black, 4 Hispanic, and 1 white. Really? And then they're handing out masks
in Central Park.
Yeah, like what? Okay. We don't need to spring open. Let's just get this shit under, the businesses that are going to fail are going to fail. And I'd rather a business fail than people die.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
This is another thing where I say there's such a disparity when it comes to where our funds are being allocated. So we have all these bailouts happening to these large companies, but what I've always said this, what drives our economy is and will always be small business and the middle income consumer, right? Because I think we spend the most, we pay the most in our taxes. We're a larger number. So where are these bailouts? I have in my neighborhood, we have a lot of restaurants that are not going to be able to open up again.
Right.
They qualify for bailouts. Right. And then you have people that are.
And then you see like the Lakers get a $4 million small business.
How fucking dare you?
What the hell?
How fucking dare you?
And then like Trader Joe's or one of those supermarkets got 10 million. It's like,
dare you?
First of all, you're filing for that. So
and this is the thing again where I will galvanize anyone that will listen. My money is not going to be spent in the same respect as it did before. Right. My energy is going to that. I am done allowing people dictate not only how, but where, but what. And not only that, I look at this whole education, with this whole education reform, you change this and the only people that are going to have true, unbiased, and depth and breadth of education are those that can afford it. Because private schools and to a certain degree homeschooling don't have to follow the same curriculum as our public schools. But who's going to the
people that decide to be homeschool their kids from now on? You never know. They might have realized, you know what, this in the first 21 days it was growing pains. Now we're in May. Like in March, it was probably difficult. I'm sure you could speak to that. By the time May came around, it's like, why am I sending them to school?
Up and running. That's the only issue that I had was, okay, everyone was trying to use a different app. I have to learn these logins. I have to like figure out how do I get to this one, get to that one. I'm telling you, I'm at the point now when I told my kids, because now in the state of New York, they're closed for the rest of this academic year.
Yeah.
They were like, so? And I'm like, you don't miss your friends? They're like, we good, bitch.
They're used to it.
That not only are they used to
it,
but not only are they used to it, I have to tell you that so I have two third graders and a second grader. There's a certain level of anxiety that is coming from school, and the peer. There's definitely so many benefits to peer-to-peer learning, but there's a certain level of anxiety that one of them has, and being home has completely taken that away. And it has, I've seen a growth and a progression that I wouldn't have seen before
Right.
in a traditional setting. Although I am a huge proponent of the traditional setting.
You got to make up, you got to, I don't know.
But this
Maybe
is,
this will be the situation where, you realize you just have to spend more time with schoolwork with him, during the school year.
mm-hmm.
Like some kids need more like homework. Some kids breeze through homework. Some
Mm-hmm.
kids need that extra half hour.
Well, this anxiety is coming from something a little bit different, that there's nothing I can do unless they're completely homeschooled. But they're going to have to learn how to deal with it, because I do believe in a traditional setting.
Yeah, and I believe, honestly, I believe in social, even though we social distancing now, social interaction is key, is essential.
Yeah, and there's so much to be learned with these extracurricular activities that these kids do as they grow. And then that's another thing. You take away this aspect, it's going to take away a lot of other social development needs that these kids have. Like, there's a lot of sports that come introduced in middle and high school, really, but middle and high school, that they're not going to have access to anymore.
Right.
There's so many things that you're taking away from people that they need to grow as a well-rounded individual. You and I can pinpoint, while I was a cheerleader, some say it's a sport, some say not. There is there's a team level aspect where, you're not the only one that needs to be counted on, but your individual thing needs to be counted on. So there's a certain level of interpersonal relationship, and career wise, you learned a lot of things that take you into your career. We can pinpoint people that never went outside to play. We can pinpoint people that were never on a extracurricular activity. Even the way they speak and the way they process information that you're giving them, you can tell the people that didn't have that development, that
social interaction, the teamwork, the group work. It's definitely important.
Yeah. And I like I said, and I'm going to continue to say, my money holds power in this country, and I'm gonna be I'm changing where that goes.
Holler.
And if you didn't treat your employees well for this, even if you didn't take the bailout, you ain't getting shit from me no more.
But you have to be diligent about that, because sometimes be sneaky. You'd be like,
oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So.
Anyway. Yeah.
Well, we don't want spring to open. We want spring to be here, but we don't want it to open. Spring is here, actually. So
spring.
Yeah, spring sprung. But I'm okay with takeout.
Fine.
Okay, I got me some good food from Mama Teresa's yesterday. Holla, Big Ziti, it was good. Brought it home. I got it delivered. It was good to go.
Hey.
Anyway, well, good show.
Good show.
Where can they catch us?
Yep Yeah Yes 18 on Instagram and Twitter. The Yep Yeah Yes podcast on Facebook, and any streaming device that plays a podcast. All you got to do is say, device, please play the Yep Yeah Yes podcast.
Minus device.
Well, whatever device. Like if it's Alexa, if it's
okay. I got you.
Device.
Cool. All right, Holmes. Well,
homie, happy Titi's Day. I'm proud. Well, Mother's Day.
Yeah.
You're a mother figure to my kids, and I know for your niece and nephew. But my kids learn.
They see that when they're older. Right now,
they do. They learn so much from you, and I see. It's funny. I have an odd conversation I had yesterday. I'll share that with you quickly. We were talking about as they get older, and for some reason, one of them was just like, when does everyone only drink when they turn 21? I was like, no. You're gonna be in high school, and you're probably gonna be introduced to alcohol. And they're like, I would never. And I go, you will. But there's a difference between having fun and being stupid. And we went through this whole thing, and it was like, listen, you always have a lifeline that you can call. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, let's say you're somewhere and you're like shit faced and you don't know what to do. Who do you call? They're like, the police. I was like, call Titi. If you don't want to call me, call Titi.
Don't call the police.
Yeah, but they didn't know. They're like, if you
Yeah.
need help, they're still young. And I was like, call Titi. And they were like, what do you mean? I was like, she's your friend. She's there for you. And they were like, well, would it be bad? And then we tell her not to tell you. And I was like, that's the relationship that you're gonna have with her. That's okay. She's there to help you. I'm there to help you. You call me, I'm gonna be there to help you. I might have some questions, but
And you're gonna
I'm
need some
there.
answers.
I'm gonna need some answers. And they're like, oh, we'll call Didi. But I was like, yeah, this is, she's there for you. She loves you enough to help you and listen to you and help you get out of a situation that you're no longer comfortable with. And it's about being safe. And we're all here to help you feel safe. And they're like, oh, okay.
Good to know. Well, hopefully
Yeah.
I'll live to see that day. Or not. I should actually hope not to see that day. I don't want them to be, drunk or in that situation. Anyway, let's leave on a good note. Do you have a message real quick for any moms out there?
You're doing great, sweetie. You're doing great. That's all I got to say. You're doing great. Keep up the good job. And if you don't feel like you're doing a good job, take a moment, sit on it, think on it, and fix it. Just fucking fix it. It's about time. Just fucking fix it.
Yeah, they are.
Happy Mother's
Can you
Day.
wipe your kid's nose, please? Anyway.
Oh, you think. Happy Mother's Day, Mama Deborah, Pamela, Debbie,
Victoria,
Victoria,
Carmen, and to all, the mothers that have, the women that have lost their mothers, sorry to you. I don't know.
To that girl.
I don't know what to say. Rest in peace to your moms.
Listen to everyone. You know what? Even people fulfilling roles that perhaps that you didn't realize were designated to you. Everyone plays a mothering role in one way or another. Listen,
Right.
You're doing a great job, sweetie. And if you don't think you are, sit on it, think on it, fucking fix it.
Exactly. All right, y'all. Happy Mother's Day. Till next week.
Happy Mother's Day.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.